Hello and welcome to this Fireside Q&A session on developer-first application security. My name is Erdem Menges with the GitHub product marketing team, and I will be your moderator for this session. For this session, we have two extremely valuable speakers joining me. We have Stacy Monroe with Principal and Jamie Finnigan with HashiCorp. So just starting with a quick round of introductions. Stacy, do you mind just introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about Principal?
Sure, no problem. So, good afternoon and good morning for some of you still. I'm Stacy Monroe. I work in cyber defense operations at Principal Financial Group. We're located in Des Moines, Iowa. We're a financial services company and we have a global presence. We provide insurance, retirement, and investment products to our customers, and we're trying to help them lead their best lives.
Thank you, Stacy. Jamie?
Hey folks, I'm Jamie Finnigan. I'm the Director of Product Security here at HashiCorp. My home office is outside of Seattle, Washington, but we're a remote first distributed company. We do infrastructure software. We help our open source users and enterprise customers adopt cloud. Our customers are very security conscious, which means we're essentially a security software company as well. We need to get it right. So yeah, that's us.
Thank you, Jamie. So just before we dive into the first couple of questions, I would like to remind everyone that you can use the Q&A tool on Goldcast to start asking us questions, and we will be covering some of the questions that you're posting later on in this session. So feel free to send your questions our way. So with that, just starting off with our first question, Stacy, where does application security fit within Principal's business strategy?
Yeah, so security is a strategic business partner at Principal. Since we're in the business of trying to protect lots of people's money, we receive a lot of client questionnaires. We've got regulations as well. Since we're a highly regulated industry, security is really important. So we have to be at the table when those decisions are being made and as security is developed, strategy is developed and discussed.
Thank you, Stacy. And Jamie, how does that look from HashiCorp's business strategy point of view?
Yeah, so Principal protects people's money, HashiCorp protects people's infrastructure, right? Trust is absolutely critical to our business success, and security is a big part of that. HashiCorp we use the cloud operating model to describe what we do, which is we essentially help our customers run, connect, secure, and provision their technology infrastructure. And security is a key part of each element there. So as I said before, we need to get security right in order to help our customers be successful.
Thank you. And cybersecurity has been a core component and a foundational element of business strategies for almost every organization out there. But now we're living in an era where application security and cybersecurity are becoming competitive assets for organizations. Jamie, how does your application security program help HashiCorp be more competitive?
Yeah, security is not optional for us. Like when you look at the level of due diligence that any HashiCorp customer puts us through before they commit to a purchase of any of our products, we have to provide them with a level of assurance that we are doing what we need to do to secure our products and in turn secure their environment. Strong security controls and practices are a must-have before customers will commit to any purchase. And without security, like we can't compete. There is no competition.
Thank you, Jamie. And Stacy, how does the competitive edge look from a protecting people's money point of view for Principal?
Yeah, you wouldn't think, we're not a technology company like Jamie's company, but we're a financial services company with a very strong emphasis on our technology. And so our ability to tell a strong story around our security posture is extremely important to helping us attract some of the larger clients. They ask for that information. They send us those questionnaires. They want to know the details. They want to know we're doing our annual pen test. They want to know we're securing credentials. They want to know that our infrastructure is secure. It's critically important to retaining and attracting our business.
Thank you. And application security is extremely important for most of our customers at GitHub. And we know that there are many customers, including Principal and HashiCorp, that incorporate GitHub Advanced Security into their day-to-day development lifecycle. But before we dive into GitHub's offerings in this space, I just want to get a good understanding of what were the initial challenges that you want to address with your application security program before even trying a developer-first approach like GitHub's. Stacy?
Yeah, so application security helps us reduce our business risk by identifying vulnerabilities. And we want to identify the ones that pose the largest threat. So we need tools that are going to help us identify and prioritize those risks quickly and with a repeatable process. Additionally, we want to make sure that we're increasing code coverage percentages and third-party risk coverage. And then we also want to be able to reduce context switching. So our developers, they use a bunch of tools. They're in and out of IDEs and cloud environments and et cetera. And so if we can put things in one place, then it helps them, especially as they're taking on a lot of new responsibilities, becoming full stack engineers. It's not just one environment they're working in any longer.
Thank you. And Jamie, what were the application security challenges that you were trying to address?
I've been doing this for 15 years now across a range of industries, and application security is a big challenge. Like, there's what you're going to hear in this answer is there's kind of this buildup of scar tissue from other tools, other solutions. At HashiCorp in particular, we have a lot of code. Some of it's public, some of it's proprietary, some of it's internally built, some of it's externally contributed, and there's a lot of third-party dependencies as well. So large code base. We have a distributed team of developers. Some of them are open source contributors. There's HashiCorp employees, obviously. And those folks are all working on a disparate range of systems and development workflows. Don't get me started on the Vim versus Emacs debate. We need to automate security things in order to meet our scale and future growth. Like, just to keep up with the business, we cannot manually review every single line of code. So automation is key for us here. Our approach is that we build a lot. So we have a bunch of internal tooling we use. We use a lot of open source for security purposes. And then we also bring in commercial solutions when it makes sense. So we were looking for something that would help us with static analysis, that would help us with secret scanning, help us with dependency management, and ideally a solution that would tick multiple of those boxes. So we wanted to value on day one is always good. Like, you really want to avoid that slow ramp up if you can help it. Ability to extend and customize, minimization of noise and false positives is really huge. Like, we really want to avoid that whole, here's a PDF with 300 pages of security issues that turns out 90% of them are irrelevant or false positive. So yeah, there's some of the challenges.
Thank you. And yesterday there was a really interesting session with one of our customers where they were just talking more about the number of issues fixed versus number of issues found or number of issues reported, because unless these issues are being actively fixed, there's very little value in delivering that huge set of issues. And Jamie, I can really relate to your point about scar tissue, or what I call professional deformation, about being in application security, knowing about everything that's going on, but not getting those fixes on time before moving to production. So these were the challenges that we're trying to address. And I know you've been working with working with GitHub Advanced Security and using that as a tool in your environment. Jamie, how did GitHub Advanced Security help you overcome some of these challenges?
Yeah, so we jumped into the beta and then became a paying customer after a successful trial. So I guess that's one sign that it worked for us. Compared to many other options that I and the team have experienced, overall it just felt smooth. Like the GitHub integration, I would say, is really the number one factor here, in that it allows us to take the security tooling, to take the issues that's being identified by it, and very easily bring that to the developers, to the development teams, so that they can consume and work with these issues that are being identified as part of their existing workflow. Having that security tab right there in the repository that they look at every day using the same UI, similar kind of feel workflow, makes developer engagement here helps address one of those big issues. Other things that helped, automation, like being able to easily schedule or do on-demand runs of code scanning in particular, has been helpful. Being able to do it async, out of band, or inside a PR flow and push those security results to developers quicker. We've found there's really a balance to be achieved there. Like, you don't want that long window of time during which the PR sits there waiting for all the checks to complete. So we're trying to achieve a balance between what do you do out of band versus inflow. One more thing there, I have found GitHub to be very sensitive about issue quality and noise minimization. So that's definitely helps with one of those challenges I mentioned, where there is a very active attempt to avoid being a source of false positives for us, which we greatly appreciate.
Thank you. That's very great to hear, because that's one of the key focuses that we have around advanced security, the accuracy and the actionability of overall results and helping developers fix them in their overall flows. So Stacy, just pretty much the same question from a principal's point of view. How did advanced security help you overcome some of these challenges?
So I would echo many of the thoughts that Jamie shared. The results so far from our developers have been pretty positive. I'd say we're probably maybe not as far along as Jamie in our journey on GitHub Advanced Security. We have some other tools in this space as well. However, what it's allowed us to do is provide an integration option where we didn't have one before. So it really helps us increase that code coverage % that I talked about. And then just having that single pane of glass to be able to view everything together, like the secrets and the dependencies and the vulnerabilities all together, is very helpful. And I think it helps the developers really take ownership of the security issues. They don't feel like security's giving them something thrown over the wall. It's part of their process. It's very ingrained in the work that they're doing. It's just like any other software bug, right? It's like you've created a bug, you got to fix it.
I love it. And I think one of the culture shifts that we're trying to accomplish with a tool like this is making sure that we can serve the same community, the same products as a single team, instead of us versus them, and removing some of the friction between the traditional security versus developers team. So that's pretty good to hear. So thank you, Stacy. So let me pause for a second just to remind our audience that you can still submit your questions through the Q&A button, and we will be happy to take them on as we go. And now that I said this, I'd love to just follow up with a quick question from Logan Rodrian. The first question is, what have you found is the overlap or the non-overlap between other security scanning tools and advanced security capabilities?
I can take a first stab at that if you like. As I mentioned earlier, we kind of approach our security tooling and we use in-house tools, we use open source tools, and we use commercial tools to achieve our security goals. One major benefit of advanced security is that for a commercial solution, it's checking a number of boxes for us at once. So we're getting static analysis via the CodeQL code scanning. We're getting secret scanning via that capability that we were really excited to get the ability to define custom regexes for recently. We're also getting, this isn't necessarily advanced security, but it is GitHub security, and it's Dependabot and the dependency graph that, again, is giving us a solution that doesn't just check one box, but checks a number of them for us. So that's probably the main element for me here, is that the solution solves multiple problems at one time in many ways. So, yeah.
Similar answer here. We have other security tools, but I don't think there's ever going to be a security tool that solves every problem everywhere. Being a security engineer area, I mean, we have to be able to provide multiple solutions to our developers to meet them where they're at and make sure we're supporting all their needs. So, are you going to have overlap? Sure. But just make sure you're checking it out and meeting the needs of your engineers.
Thank you. And again, I will just switch over to another question, but before I do that, just to set the stage, GitHub Advanced Security also has a lot of integration capabilities. So you could be integrating third-party open source or commercial scanning within the same developer experience. And we believe this is one of the key benefits of using advanced security within the developer flow. Now, with that context, the question is, do you currently integrate other security tools into your SDLC GitHub workflow alongside advanced security? And what's your experience in doing those integrations? And what's the user feedback?
So I can take that one first. At Principal, since we're kind of new with our GitHub Advanced Security, I think, so we have integrated White Source as one of the tools, and so it pulls everything in into the environment, like what you were mentioning there, Erdem, and kind of gives them the one spot to go check those things. Outside of that, we have not integrated much yet.
We are a little further along there. What we've ended up doing is using GitHub Actions to drive a lot of our security scanning. So we have a number of our in-house open source and commercial tools being executed by GitHub scanning. And then using GitHub, we're not far down this path yet, but what we've started doing is using advanced security's Serif ingestion capabilities to take the results from those GitHub Actions driven scans and expose them into the individual project repos as GitHub scanning alerts. So it feels like it just integrates into that existing workflow, and yeah, so far looking pretty good.
Yep, what Jamie's talking about, we might get there eventually. We are also using GitHub Actions to kick off many of our security product scans.
Thank you. And just for our audience, Serif is the open standard for application security SaaS scanning results. So that's the standard format that we can ingest and present these findings to our developers overall. So thank you. Now let's just switch gears to our preset questions. And again, please feel free to send additional questions if you have additional questions to our speakers here. So we talked about the before almost state. We talked about some of the challenges. We talked about how GitHub helped solve these challenges. But I'm curious to really learn how your developers responded to these changes, because if they're not adopting the solution, I don't think there's much value in adopting this. So how were your developers' reactions to the changes in application security? So Stacy, do you mind just going first?
Yeah, no problem. And so, I'd mentioned we're still in the process of rolling out more broadly. However, it helps the developers really get that accountability for their code. If they don't have to leave the environment to get the results or set up a separate process, it just speeds things up for them. So since it's running on every commit and providing that immediate feedback, so far they've really responded positively and feel like they own that work.
As a security professional, it felt really good to me a week or two ago when an engineer in one of the product development teams came to me and said, "Hey, I just spent an hour going through the secret scanning alerts tab. I went through, I found that there were 1 or 2 actual issues here, closed out a number of false positives because they were secrets that we use in tests, but they had proactively found that information, gone and done the triage, closed it out, took them an hour, they were done, and I hadn't even had to ask them to do it. It's amazing."
Nice.
Other elements here are the place it plugs in, like plugging in at the GitHub layer gives the developers the flexibility around their own local development environment and workflow. Like we're not giving them an IDE plugin or some other kind of editor extension that they must adopt, which I think has been quite useful. And yeah, overall the user experience is getting good feedback. So yeah, positive response, I would say.
That's very good to hear. Thank you. So switching over to a question from our live audience, Carol Deland asks, SaaS and DaaS tools are sometimes take a long time to run and are compute heavy. Is this something you worked on to reduce the feedback loop?
So
I can talk to go ahead, Stacy.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Okay. Okay. One of the things we've found with CodeQL, with code scanning, is they provide different query sets. So if you want the full set of tests to be run, you can run a job that will take the full query set. It'll go away and execute for a longer period of time than many are comfortable waiting. It's still relatively quick compared to some other static analysis tools I've used. So time is relative, I guess. There are smaller query sets though. So you can define your own custom query set. You can tune what specific tests you're wanting to be run kind of at the per PR or the daily level versus maybe a wider test suite that you run once a week or at some other kind of longer scheduled time. So yeah, this is tunable. But yeah, we are conscious of not burning test time, not burning developer time by front loading too many tests that don't give value. So yeah, we're continuing to monitor and adjust that as it makes sense.
Okay, and I would just add from Principal's perspective, since we're kind of new in this journey, we haven't played with the CodeQL queries very much yet, but we plan to, and we've heard good things about those efforts. I guess I would add to that, since most of the scanning is done out of band, it happens at commit time. It's not like they're waiting on a build to get it done, like some other tools that happen. Speed hasn't really been an issue.
Thank you. And just as a note for our audience, code scanning is the name of the service that we're using to run any SaaS engine in the background, and CodeQL is GitHub's native and supported SaaS engine that supports this flexibility. But thank you for your answers. I think that's a very good way to handle the load and also optimize both speed and the accuracy and level of depth. So I'll just proceed with another question coming from our audience. Jeffrey Quinn asks, software security seems to be a core function for all speakers. Do you have recommendations or guidance for getting a grasp on software security and development in general, especially for a company that isn't dependent on its in-house software for public-facing applications?
Where do you even start with that one, Stacy? I don't know. This is
maybe.
Well, I can mention how we got started in software security at Principal. So we went out and we looked for a framework that would help us really lay the groundwork for our secure software program. And then we worked with business partners to pull them in to those conversations and develop security champions across our company. And so having the security champions and the framework in place that we can build from and ensure that we're following the most relative security practices has really helped our organization.
I love that call out of find a framework that works for you. There are various angles on that, right? You can look at some of the OWASP guidance. You can look at guidance from BSIM. There's many other frameworks and sources that you can use to kind of get that alignment between what does good practice or what does industry say I should do versus what am I capable of doing, and then how do I prioritize the areas I go focus on. In contrast to the champions model that Stacy is talking about, my team does almost a product specialist role where individuals in our product security organization have specific responsibility for individual products within our portfolio, as well as doing program level work. So there's various ways you can structure that too. But ultimately, I think it comes down to prioritization. Like, you're going to end up with a long list of things to worry and think about, and you need to kind of prioritize those in some way. And then it comes down to partnership. Like, a security team cannot go and solve this problem by themselves. An engineering team cannot go and solve this problem by themselves. This is something that we need to work together on. So yeah, that's my spiel.
Thank you. So just another question we have on our list. What's next for application security for HashiCorp, and how can GitHub support you for this goal? Jamie?
For HashiCorp, we are continuing to grow. Like, as a business, we are continuing to develop open source. We continue to develop on-prem products. We're continuing to build out our cloud managed services. And as a product security team, we are continuing to secure each one of those pieces of our delivery models. So the work continues to come in our door. I mentioned the Serif ingestion, which is actually going to be pretty key to us now. The approach we're trying is we're going to use the GitHub Advanced Security workflow that you provide us with the security tab, with the ability to ingest results from other tools, and start pushing more and more of our security related findings through that workflow. So yeah, we're going to try centralizing around that and see how that goes for a period of time. In terms of how can GitHub support us, I'd say you're only telling us about the problems. Could you automate the remediation as well? I mean, that'd be great. Copilot looks like it's doing a reasonable job so far.
I'll second that one.
Couple of other points, perhaps. Like, okay, this is a very small point. I'll say it now because I've got the bully pulpit, right? Raise your rate limits just a little bit so we can use your API more as much as we want to. Keep the focus on issue quality and noise reduction, and then yeah, we'll keep on working on this thing.
Thank you, Stacy. How does that same question look from Principal's point of view?
Yeah, I would just add to that Principal has a lot of cloud initiatives right now. So our application security has really got to focus on supporting those environments, scaling our services and our architecture, and making sure that security is a piece of that puzzle. Yep.
Thank you. So let me take one more question from the audience. Again, it's another question from Logan. When you adopted advanced security, GitHub Advanced Security, did you go through a rationalization process? Can you describe this?
We're actually kind of doing that right now. I mean, we have GitHub Advanced Security, we're using it, but we're also going through a process of comparing it to some of our other tools. And so the way that we're doing that is we've established some criteria, probably too long to talk about in the 2 minutes we have left, where we're going through and we're just making sure that it's, dotting all those I's, crossing all those T's for us, so that we can continue to be a secure company with our financial services products we're providing. And so the way that we're doing that is we're pulling in engineers from across the different business areas to help us with that rationalization and that comparison process, evaluating the product. And so we're looking at results in other tools and the results in advanced security and saying, are we concentrating on the right things? And so that's really our focus.
Jamie, any thoughts on this? Yeah. Something I didn't mention earlier was that HashiCorp's code base is a predominantly Golang, and static analysis support for Golang has been lacking historically. There was some open source tooling and not a lot else. So for us, in many ways, it was a greenfield implementation. Like we didn't have an existing vendor who we had to rationalize or figure out what to do with. So yeah, we continue to choose tools that make sense though. Like there's kind of, one is we want to improve the security of our products. Two is we want to see scan results from tools before our customers bring them to us. That's the joy of being open source, is customers can scan our products as well as us. So yeah, we continue to try to make smart decisions about what tooling we use and don't use. And that's part of an ongoing discussion.
Thank you. And I do have a shameless plug to wrap things up, which is just probably a question that some of our audience may have in mind. Are you hiring at Principal, and how can we apply for a job at the application security team?
Oh my gosh, yes. We have all sorts of openings. So if you go to principal.com/careers and you search for IT jobs, you'll find them out there. So yep, we get lots of openings and we'd love to have you apply.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, likewise over here. If what I've described sounds interesting to you, hashicorp.com/jobs, and then click the security link.
Perfect. Well, thank you both so much for being our speakers today, and thank you for watching us and giving us the time of day today. We really appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.